Hello, everybody, and welcome to elPablo FC. And today we're going to be doing the weekly Premier League review of the of interesting events that have happened over the weekend for match week 31 of the Premier League. And it's been a weekend of dropped points, a weekend of interesting games and banana skins as well as fallen giants. So we're going to talk about these games. We're going to talk about how teams panned out and all of that. But the truth is, let's not waste time. Let's get right into it. So if you are joining us for the first time, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to everything football. So we're starting with the Premier League, and we're doing only the Premier League today. And basically, we'll start with the first game of the weekend that started on Friday night, which was the game between Bournemouth and Manchester United. And the truth is, when you look at that game, tactically and technically, you'd see that the game was a bit frantic and a bit all over the place. The one thing that happened before the game, or the stat that we knew before the game, was the fact that Man United had not won against Bournemouth in 5 games heading into that game. So it was a situation where United needed to win. The last game coming as a result of a draw, which was a 4-4 draw, a goal fest. Now, Bournemouth twice battled back to snatch a point in a dramatic 2-2 draw with 10-men Man United at the Vitality Stadium. So it was a game of red cards, it was a game of penalty calls and VAR drama and VAR controversy. After both goalkeepers starred in the goalless first half before Bruno Fernandes opened the scoring from the penalty spot, and in the 61st minute, then Ryan Christie netted Bournemouth's first leveler, though Man United quickly restored the lead thanks to a James Hill own goal from a Bruno Fernandes corner kick. Then the second half substitute, Junior Krupi, then rescued a fifth straight draw for Andoni Raiola's side from 12 yards after Harry Maguire had brought Evan Nielsen down in the box, leading to a red card for the Red Devils defender. With neither side able to find a winner, Bournemouth now are unbeaten in 11 matches and remain 10th in the 10th spot now, 3 points behind 7th place Brentford. Meanwhile, Man United are 3rd with a 6-point cushion over Liverpool in 5th. We're going to talk more about that. But then, like I said, there was a VAR issue, a VAR drama. First and foremost, basically, we got a chance to break the deadlock when Man United got a chance to break the deadlock when Alex Jimenez tugged Mateusz Cunha down in the box and Fernandes, sent Petrovic the wrong way. But the goal sparked the second half to life when Christie swept past San Olomans. But the drama was not over as Maguire saw red. But then there was the issue of the VAR, and the ref decided not to give it. But then it is what it is. It leaves Man United in 3rd, and as the table suggests, it leaves Man United in 3rd, and Bournemouth have dropped to 13th, considering how games have panned out. So we earlier said at the end of the day on Friday, Bournemouth were 10th. We'll talk about the table pretty much later, but that's pretty much all about the Man United game. Man United dropped 2 points to Bournemouth, and then it left Man United wondering, and fans wondering whether Villa are going to come closer or Liverpool are going to come closer or anything in between. Now, to one of the big giants fallen, basically. Liverpool faced Brighton at the Amex Stadium, basically. They faced Brighton, and it was a very interesting game, if we were to call it that. Then Welbeck scored twice for Brighton, as Brighton and Hove Albion dented Liverpool's UEFA Champions League hopes with a 2-1 victory over the reigning Premier League champions on Saturday. Welbeck struck the decisive blow in the 56th minute at the Amex Stadium, which extended Liverpool's winless league run to 3 matches. Brighton also hit the front side in the opening 15 minutes through Danny Welbeck's towering header. I watched that game, and it was pretty interesting how Danny Welbeck bullied Konate in the box to actually score that goal. But it was pretty interesting, and yeah, it was one game we saw and all of that. Now the truth is, Brighton also basically, I mean, Fabian Hosler's side also retook the lead after Milos Kekes scored from a mistake by Brighton and Hove Albion. Like, Brighton made a mistake and Milos Kekes scored, so Brighton would take the lead in the second half thanks to a Welbeck simple finish to hand Liverpool a second defeat in 3 matches. This is a team that was coming back from a win against Galatasaray, a very emphatic win against Galatasaray. But it is what it is. The result sees Liverpool stay 5th with 49 points, and Brighton, meanwhile, are 10th with 43 points, within 6 points of Liverpool. So it was pretty interesting. Trust me, it was pretty interesting. But yeah, we love to see it. We literally love to see it. But it is what it is. Now, the Liverpool players and the Liverpool players actually did all they could, especially with Arne Slot, trying to engineer a win, but it was too hard for them. They couldn't even muster any win. But the one thing that we could take from that game was the fact that Ugo Ekitike got injured in the first half. So that was actually what swayed Liverpool's momentum. But it is what it is. Dan Welbeck was the man of the match. In the previous game, Man United, Bruno Fernandes was the man of the match. So yeah, it is what it is. And it's kind of, dented Liverpool's UEFA Champions League hopes. Then we go straight to Fulham versus Burnley. Ended 3-1. Burnley got a red card. And Fulham scored through King and Wilson, as well as through King and Harry Wilson in the 67th and 73rd minute. But first and foremost, Burnley scored. When I saw the game, it was Burnley were leading 1-0 away at Fulham in the second half. At halftime, it was 0-0. And then King scored. And then eventually, I think Marco Silva's men ran riot and came back. And Wilson scored in the 73rd minute. Then Jimenez scored a pen after Laurent gave after Laurent slid somebody in the box, stopped a goal scoring opportunity, which gave Jimenez the opportunity, Raul Jimenez the opportunity to score in the 90 plus 5 minutes. So, which brought the game to a 3-1 win for Fulham. And on the table, it takes Fulham after that win to Burnley to, I think, what level is the table? Well, we're gonna have a quick look at it, and then we will give you our feedback. Now, on the table, it takes Fulham to 1 second right here. The table is shaping up nice and tight, as Fulham on 9th position after that game. Like I said, Brighton was 10th, Fulham 9th with 44 points, Brighton 10th with 43 points, and Fulham are basically closer to Chelsea on 48, 4 points behind Chelsea and 5 points behind Liverpool. Then it takes us to the next game, which was Everton versus Chelsea. Man City was supposed to play Crystal Palace, but they were facing Arsenal in the Carabao Cup final, so that game was postponed. So this was the fall of another giant, basically. Beto, who was seeing the bench, and Diano Barry was playing ahead of Beto. He scored twice and provided an assist as Everton gave their European hopes a huge boost and dented those of Chelsea with a 3-0 victory at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. That's one of very few victories they've had at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. Beto beat goalkeeper Robert Sanchez with a clever finish in the 33rd minute after being released by an impressive James Garner pass. We need to talk about James Garner in the near future. But one day on from his first England call-up, and that is for James Garner. After Everton goalkeeper Jordan Pickford denied Enzo Fernandez and 2 spectacular saves, Beto netted his second after 62 minutes. After 62 minutes, squeezing the ball past Sanchez. And Beto then returned provider when Iliman Njai made it 3-0. It was so embarrassing to see. 3-0 with a bending finish, a bending top bins, break the shoulder, shoot finish, condemning Chelsea to a fourth straight loss in all competition. Now, in all competitions, now Liam Rosenau's side are now just 2 points ahead of Everton in the Premier League table, with Chelsea sitting 6th and the Toffees sitting in the 8th spot. Now, Chelsea are 48 points. The Toffees are 46 points. And it gets really interesting, especially with Everton hunting down top spot. Now, the man of the match for this game was Beto. And the truth is, it was such an eventful game that we could have expected that Chelsea would probably fight back after struggling to win in the UEFA Champions League against PSG, after getting pummeled 8-2 by PSG in the UEFA Champions League, both at home and away. So it was supposed to be a situation where Chelsea was going to come back. But when you look at the lineup, it gives you a cause to worry, because the team can't even field the strongest lineup to save their lives. But it is what it is. Beto had two goals and one assist, which made him the man of the match, 33 and 62 minutes. And then Njai made it at 76 to just cap it. Also, if you think about it, the Everton side also had more chances that they could have easily made this game 5-0, but they didn't. So it is what it is. Anyway, that leaves Everton in 8th and Chelsea in 6th, as I said, just 2 points behind, 2 points ahead of Everton, which takes us to the next game. The next game was Leeds versus Brentford. That ended in a 0-0 game, a 0-0 draw, right? This was high-flying Brentford versus a Leeds side that is trying to run away from relegation. Basically, it was super interesting. Anyway, Leeds United and Brentford had to settle for a point apiece as they battled to a 0-0 draw at the Etihad. At the Elland Road, Elland Road. Leeds were frustrated in the attack as their Premier League goal drought stretched to 4 games, with a wayward glancing header from Pascal Struijk representing their clearest chance. But Brentford's best opening also came in the second half, but Matthias Jensen crashed a shot into the side netting, with both Kevin Shada and Igor Thiago calling for a cross. While Leeds are now winless in 6 Premier League games, they boast a 4-point cushion over 18th place West Ham, and West Ham played against Aston Villa on Sunday. We'll talk about that. Now, Brentford, meanwhile, missed the chance to go level on points with 6th place Chelsea. With 6th place Chelsea, though they moved back above Everton into 7th, right? Into 7th on goal difference. So Brentford have 46 points. Everton have 46 points with +4 goal. Now Brentford have +4 goal difference. Everton have +2 goal difference, with 46 points ahead of Fulham, 2 points ahead of Fulham in 9th, and Brighton in 10th, 3 points ahead of Brighton in 10th. So it's gonna be super interesting to see how the league table shapes up, and the interesting fixtures that follow in April. But the man of the match for this one was Colin Kelleher, who is Brentford's goalkeeper. He made emphatic saves in the game and all of that. But it's super interesting and all of that. Anyway, the next game we are going to be talking about is the Sunday game. And it was the Tyne-Wear Derby. That was the biggest derby for Sunderland and Newcastle. The biggest derby in Tyneside. Basically, it was a Tyne-Wear Derby. And basically everybody, Newcastle don't like Sunderland, Sunderland don't like Newcastle. So everybody expected that with Newcastle coming back from their Champions League game and Sunderland coming back from, playing in top form, going away to Newcastle, it meant that obviously they were going to struggle. But Sunderland are in form. They have good away form and good home form, while Newcastle are also, boasting a very strong team, basically, especially in the midfield. Brian Brobbey snatched Sunderland a 2-1 comeback win against Newcastle to earn the Tyne-Wear Derby bragging rights at St. James's Park. And the funny thing, Sunderland beat Newcastle in the first leg, literally. So it's like they've done this back-to-back victory against Newcastle. And the amazing thing is, it's been 10 years since the beginning, since Sunderland played Newcastle. Sunderland have been going back and forth in the championship. And then it's also brought us to a point where we had to analyze something. And guess what? The way Newcastle opened that game, basically with their tifo, their scary opening, and all of those things just to kind of scare Sunderland. Sunderland were not scared. They came to play, right? So Anthony Gordon, first and foremost, before that, Brian Brobbey secured the 3 points in the 90th minute, taking advantage after Malik Thiaw had seen a potential winner disallowed in the other end. Now, Anthony Gordon capitalized on Luke O'Neill's loose pass early in the first half and coolly, slotted across goal to score for the third Premier League game in a row to put Newcastle ahead. Anthony Gordon, we need to talk about him as such an interesting player, and I think I seem to like him. Anyway, he knows how to drag a team, right? He knows how to carry a team, right? So Talby cancelled out after the break on the rebound before Thiaw's header was ruled out after Jacob Murphy interfered from an offside position with 15 minutes remaining. Now, when you look at that game, you see that Jacob Murphy stood in front of the goalkeeper and tried to block his movement, and that kind of led to him being offside, blocking the goalkeeper, and Malik Thiaw's goal was ruled out because obviously he was going to interfere with play. And then Brobbey prodded in from a close range after an initial effort was saved, sending Sunderland up to 11th and infringing on Newcastle's opportunity to climb up the table to, I think, to ninth, right? To ninth. So they leapfrog Newcastle. Sunderland has leapfrogged Newcastle, who are now sitting basically in 12th in the process. Now, Sunderland are also in 11th with 43 points, 1 point behind, same points, 11 points with Brighton in 10th, and 1 point behind Fulham, while Newcastle are 2 points behind Fulham and 1 point behind Sunderland. So they just swap places. Anyway, that takes us to the next game that happened on Sunday, and that was another game that was from the top half of the table versus the bottom half, and that was Aston Villa versus West Ham. Claret and White, both Claret and White teams, right? Ollie Watkins was back on target as Villa returned to winning ways in the Premier League with a comfortable 2-0 victory over West Ham United. One of the goals was assisted by Jadon Sancho. Liverpool, Chelsea, and Brentford all dropping points in the race for UEFA Champions League places this weekend, which meant that Villa would have to maintain their 4th position after ending their 3-game losing streak to boost their chances of Champions League. Now, John McGinn finished off a clever free kick routine early in the first half with a curling effort giving Mads Hermansen no chance, especially considering that the assist came from Jadon Sancho. Then, Ollie Watkins basically netted his first league goal since late January with an emphatic finish into the roof of the net after pouncing on a rebound by Morgan Rogers. A rebound of Morgan Rogers' shot, which was saved by West Ham's goalkeeper, with West Ham failing to take advantage of Tottenham Hotspur's loss to Nottingham Forest, which we're going to talk about. That's another giant that is going down, man. And we have to talk about this. It is a win that moved Villa 5 points clear of Liverpool in 5th, while West Ham remain 18th, having missed the chance to move out of the relegation zone and to kind of drag Tottenham back into that relegation zone. So we need to talk about that. It's going to be super, super interesting for us to observe how West Ham played in that one. But then, West Ham couldn't come out of that of that relegation zone, which takes us to the next game that we need to talk about. This one is how the mighty have fallen. How the mighty have fallen. When you talk about that, Ollie Watkins was the man of match from the previous game, but the mighty have fallen in this one, literally, right? And this was a what you can call a proper relegation scrap. That's what you can call this one, a proper relegation scrap. Now, Nottingham Forest boosted their hopes of avoiding relegation under new manager Vitor Pereira. Boosted their hopes of avoiding relegation from the Premier League and left Tottenham Hotspur in huge trouble with a crucial 3-0 victory over Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs fans lined the streets to welcome Igor Tudor's under fire side to Tottenham Hotspur. It's like a parade they had to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They decided to try to back their team and everything in between. And ahead of that game, but another poor display saw their winless run stretched to 13 matches. And you know the amazing thing about their stat, they've not won a game since the beginning of the year. They've not won a game this year, literally, like a Premier League game, if you know what I mean. They spent much of the first half on the front foot and hit the woodwork twice. I mean, that's Spurs hitting the woodwork twice, but they also fell they fell behind to Igor Jesus's header just before the interval. Then another error from Guillermo Vicario. Another error from Vicario allowed Morgan Gibbs-White to make it 2-0 just after the hour mark. Then substitute Taiwo Awoniyi added a late third as Forest earned their first Premier League win under Vitor Pereira. Now, they climbed to 16th, that is Forest, climbed to 16th on 32 points, 3 points above West Ham in 18th, while Spurs are only one clear of the relegation zone. Spurs are 30 points on 17th and 1 point above West Ham. And Nottingham Forest are on 32 points with minus 12 after 31 games. Now, one thing we have to say, Morgan Gibbs-White was the man of the match for this one because he scored the third goal, I think. At halftime, it was 1-0, and then Morgan Gibbs-White scored the second goal, rather, and then Awoniyi scored the 87th minute goal. Now, we have to talk about this. Spurs, they just have to relegate. Like, they're embarrassing the Premier League. They've embarrassed the Premier League in the Champions League. Now they're embarrassing the Premier League in the Premier League. Well, they didn't embarrass the Premier League in the Champions League because they won Atletico Madrid's second leg, but couldn't get enough goals to go through. So it is what it is. But yeah, imagine a Europa League winner languishing in 17th and almost at the brink of relegation. Like any game they play now is a relegation scrap. Now we're gonna go to basically the Premier League table to talk about like basically every team's next match. Right, every team's next match. But before that, the top-rated player in the Premier League this season, Bruno Fernandes, according to FotMob and other apps, the top scorer is Erling Haaland, 22 goals. Igor Thiago is 19 goals behind, 3 goals behind, and then obviously Antoine Semenyo, 15 goals. Then top assist, Bruno Fernandes, 16. Ryan Cherki, 8, and then Erling Haaland, 7. Top performer for the week. Team of the week is Marcels, Nottingham Forest, Bjorn and Pinnock of Brentford, Bjorn of Leeds, Pinnock of Brentford, Castagna of Fulham, and Nico Williams of Nottingham Forest. Then in mid, Idrissa Gueye, I think he created that chance for Beto to create a chance for. He created a chance for Beto to score that goal. So Idrissa Gueye is in defensive mid in a 4-4-2. And then, obviously, Bruno Fernandes and Taubi, and then King. This is basically Josh King, I believe, of West Ham. Yeah, Josh King of West Ham, of Fulham. Then in attacking mid is Taubi, and then in the striking position is Welbeck and Beto. So it's going to be super interesting. It is, isn't it? It's going to be super interesting. So back to what the fixtures for most teams, basically, if you look at the table. So for Arsenal, they face Bournemouth in their own match week 32, while for Man City they face Chelsea in their match week 31. Then United face Leeds, Aston Villa face Forest, Liverpool faced Fulham, Chelsea, obviously, as I said, Man City, Brentford are facing Everton, and then Liverpool, like I said, Fulham, Burnley, Brighton, then Tottenham, Sunderland. That one looks like it's going to be a defeat for Tottenham, but we shall see. Tottenham, Sunderland, then Crystal Palace face Newcastle United, and yeah, that's pretty much all of the games for the next match. Aston Villa will face Leeds, as I said, Nottingham Forest, as I said. That's going to be an interesting game. If Forest beat Villa, then there is an opportunity for if Forest beat Villa, then there's opportunity for Man United to increase the gap, between if Man United can beat Leeds, because Leeds are winless. And this is happening at Old Trafford, isn't it? So, and Man United are 5 from 5 at Old Trafford. But it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. We've done the match review, match week 31. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to all things football. The next video you're going to be seeing is the Carabao Cup review. We'll talk about that in the next video. Thank you so much. I forgot to say West Ham are going to play Wolves, and that's also going to be another relegation scrap. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to all things football. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.